Today I thought about Coca-Cola's meteoric rise and the Coke Psy-Op. How a soft drink company that started as a cure for morphine addiction became the world's biggest refreshment brand. I know it sounds like a psyop, but let me explain. In my previous video, I covered how Coca-Cola started. If you haven't seen that one, I suggest you go check that one out first. I'll put the link for that video somewhere. A TLDR or a short version of the Coca-Cola origins. John Pemberton, this guy, was a Confederate in the American Civil War. He got injured in one of the battles and subsequently got addicted to morphine. He decided to find a cure for morphine, and in that pursuit, he found Vin Mariani, a coca wine, a wine filled with. He tried to replicate that, added cola nuts to it, and made Coca-Cola. Asa Chandler bought and acquired the Coca-Cola brand and made the Coca-Cola company. Before this point, Coca-Cola was not doing so well in sales, and that's why Asa Chandler was able to purchase it. But he immediately got into marketing, and being a pharmacist himself, who got in touch with all his pharmacist buddies, and he acquired the names and addresses of anybody that he could that was getting any kind of medication. And then he sent them coupons for a free sample of Coca-Cola. And this was Asa Chandler pioneering a marketing technique and a combination of hope, luck, and prayer. This was definitely not Asa Chandler himself being a pharmacist and knowing for a fact that he's selling caffeine and cocaine-laced sugar soda. So obviously that worked, and he got a whole new wave of customers. And this is where Asa Chandler decided that this marketing thing was really kind of awesome. And he decided to put a bunch of his profits into marketing. And he started marketing Coca-Cola as a over-the-counter medication. Instead, he started marketing it as a soft drink or a refreshment drink that anybody could have at any point, just for a little pick-me-up.
A little bump.
An added benefit of pivoting from an over-the-counter medication to a soft drink was, now that it's a soft drink, he didn't have to market all the ingredients. And instead, he just kind of combined them and labeled them Merchandise 7X. Now, Merchandise 7X became the secret recipe. That was also very good for marketing, since now they can go around and say that we are better than the competition because we have a secret recipe. Everybody wants our secret recipe. And in doing so, Coca-Cola became the name brand version of all these kinds of products, and obviously that one sells the best. So in the 1890s, things are going very good for Coca-Cola, and in 1895 they come out with a new marketing campaign known as the Coca-Cola Girls. This is one of the first instances of a company figuring out that putting attractive females on your marketing helps your marketing. Today it sounds obvious, but at the time it was a revolutionary concept, and they were one of the first to figure it out. This was such a big deal that it became one of the standards of marketing. Up until this point, Coca-Cola was exclusively sold at soda fountains, where a person whose job title was this would mix the syrup with carbonated water. With this marketing campaign, Coca-Cola decided to finally also pivot to bottling to go with their Coca-Cola Girls campaign. This marketing campaign was a massive success, and that was great news since the drink can now reach a wider audience. But that also caused problems for the Coca-Cola company because the drinks can now reach a wider audience. Since the drink was not exclusive to soda fountains anymore and it was widely available, that meant anybody could buy it. Anybody. Some people started to be very concerned that Coca-Cola was churning out coked up African American lunatics. In fact, a lot of mainstream newspapers and big name publications started running headlines like, side note, the amount of sources that I've seen that claim it was Southern newspapers and Southern this and Southern that is insane, because the biggest example I've seen of this happening is the New York Times, and I believe this itself is New York Times trying to wash away their dirty history and whitewash their legacy. This is a psyop in itself, but that's another story. In fact, the New York Times coined the term black cocaine fiends, only they didn't say black. Articles such as this claimed that when these people take coke, they become impervious to bullets.
Y'all tell anybody I'll kill you!
Coca-Cola, up until this point, was seen as a refreshing drink for the intellectual and sophisticated people. Specific people. And now they were getting associated with other people. So before it was ever banned, Coca-Cola removed cocaine from their drinks, not for legal reasons, not for health reasons, but just so that they could cleanse their image of any association with other people. Oh, by the way, how did they remove the coca? They still used the coca leaves. They just used spent coca leaves. They have an exclusive contract with this company whereby they are the only company allowed to use spent coca leaves or decocainified coca leaves. The shame of association with other people was so much for this company that they removed coke from their drink in 1903. Coke was banned in the UK in 1920, while they removed it in 1903. So Coca-Cola at this point decided to up their game in marketing. They decided to target kids. Get him hooked young, and you have a lifelong customer base. At this point, Coca-Cola was seen as a summer drink, and therefore they were not seeing as many sales in winter. So they decided to associate Coca-Cola with Christmas. How? They decided to rebrand Santa Claus. They hired this guy to make an oil painting of Santa Claus for Coke to use in their marketing campaigns and their ads. That was massively successful, so they kept doing that. They launched a massive marketing campaign that involved every single marketing platform, from TV and radio to billboards to newspapers to every place that you could possibly advertise. This was also very successful. The current image of Santa Claus is completely designed by Coca-Cola. Today, Santa Claus is seen as a happy, jolly big guy wearing red and white, which are the Coca-Cola colors. Fast forward a few decades and Coca-Cola has expanded internationally. In fact, Coca-Cola was such a beloved beverage that around the 1920s, troops had this to say about it. Fast forward a little more, and all the kids that grew up on Coca-Cola and Santa are now going off to fight in World War II. At this point, Coca-Cola is everywhere, including Germany. Coca-Cola was actually Hitler's favorite drink. But after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the US would obviously not be trading with Germany or Japan, and therefore Germany cannot get their Coca-Cola. Now the first question that comes to mind, if they already have bottling plants in Germany, why wouldn't Germany just start making their own Coca-Cola right there? Because of Merchandise 7X, which is the raw condensed syrup that makes the Coca-Cola when mixed with carbonated water. And Merchandise 7X, or the syrup, is made in the US and then shipped to bottling plants to be mixed with carbonated water and bottled. So once the supply of the syrup is cut off, Germany cannot make any more Coca-Cola. But the Nazis absolutely needed their refreshing drink. So they ended up making Fanta, which was a fruit-flavored drink made by using locally available ingredients like apple fiber and whey, which is a long way to say they used whatever scraps they had to make a fruity Coca-Cola. But Fanta is another video. At this time of the war, there are shortages. And so the American government started rationing things like sugar. Coca-Cola had already taken out the wine and the Coke. They absolutely cannot afford to let go of the sugar. So they pay off a bunch of they lobby a bunch of politicians. And thanks to their marketing up to this point, the troops do love their Coca-Cola. So the government agrees, which allows Coca-Cola to put just as much sugar in their drink as before, while everybody else, all of their competitors, have to cut back on how much sugar they put into their products. Which means at this point, Coca-Cola by default becomes the best soda around. Now at this time, Coca-Cola launches their greatest marketing ploy yet. They use the power of the United States military to spread their brand around by simply supporting the troops. They come out with a pledge to make sure that every United States soldier will be able to buy a Coca-Cola for the same 5 cents, no matter where they are in the world, even if the company has to take a loss. This was actually a very good move, morally and from the perspective of marketing. And Coca-Cola knew it. They were definitely not about to let a good opportunity pass them by. And therefore, they launched a new marketing campaign called A Taste of Home. This obviously worked extremely well, since they have somehow turned the United States military into the greatest sales force for Coca-Cola. The troops are drinking it everywhere across the world, and they're sharing it with cultures everywhere across the world. And a lot of cultures get introduced to Coca-Cola as the American drink. This is when the company approaches the US government and says, hey, it's getting very expensive to supply Coca-Cola to the troops all across the world. So hear me out. So the company proposes that the US government, using taxpayer money, subsidize the construction of bottling plants all across the world in remote locations. And the government agrees. The Coca-Cola company was able to convince the US government to fund their global expansion. And then World War II ends and Coca-Cola has a new drink, Fanta, and they decided to buy out or acquire a whole bunch of companies and products. And then they decided to go even harder in marketing and they buy Columbia Pictures. And therefore, now they can do subliminal marketing and product placement, which means, as is their policy, they do not market towards children younger than 13 years old. But they don't need to market to kids anymore, since the job is being done by product placement, toy sales, and other such methods. I was going to go much deeper in this rabbit hole, but that would make this video very long. So that's all about the Coca-Cola Psy-Op. If you liked the video, or if you want to give suggestions, or if you just want to say hi, do make sure to make use of the comment section. Do like, share and subscribe. That's all for today.